So Frank Lampard announcing his retirement today. We'll get the views from the boys in a moment. But first, let's go to Stewart Robson. Robbo, when you look back at his career, how highly do you rate the former England international?
He was an excellent player. He started off at West Ham, where I don't think he had enough pace about him. He wasn't athletic enough when he was getting around the field, and a lot of people thought it was nepotism with his uncle or his dad being the coach and his uncle being the manager. But when he went to Chelsea, he looked a top-class player. He scored goals. He ran beyond the centre forward. He could pick out passes, short and long, and he also, at times, did the defensive side of the game, particularly under Mourinho. He was a top-class midfield player.
When you were with him at West Ham, Shaq, did you know he was going to be this good?
Not this good, no. And Rob was right. The criticism of Frank Lampard was that he was a little bit heavy as a young player and needed to work on his game, which he did. And fortunately, as again Robert pointed out, his dad is both part of the coaching staff, and they spent hours on the training ground after training every single day. And eventually those...
How do you know that?
I heard.
Yeah, exactly, you were there.
That's what I heard.
Shaq was sat in the car out the window.
I spent a couple hours at lunch. But he worked his way to his success. It wasn't natural tools, it wasn't God-given talent. He worked his way to success and I think made absolute most of the opportunities he was given.
He didn't have the talent. He had a different talent to Gerrard.
Right.
You know, you wouldn't necessarily see Frank Lampard firing it in from 30 yards or hitting a 60-yard pass diagonal, or he had different facets to his game, the timing of his runs into the box, the timing getting on the end of things or knockdowns on the edge of the box, that kind of thing. I remember my second time going back down to England, playing against him. You might have played for West Ham at the time. He was a young guy in midfield, clearly, and nothing stuck out.
Right.
Really nothing stuck out. And the move to Chelsea was the making of him. Lots of players, young boys, get these moves, and Stevie will have seen it at Liverpool as well. They come in and they've been really good at another club, and then they just don't make that next step. He absolutely relished it and made the next step, but worked hard at it. Worked hard to get where he was.
It took him a couple of years, though.
Took him a while, and then the even more difficult thing, he kept it where it was.
Yeah.
And I don't know what exactly the stats are, how many goals per year, but it was pretty good. And it was a big reason Chelsea were so dominant for such a long period.
Do you know, it's funny Craig should say that. He never stuck out. And that was part of his... That was part of how good he was, because he's one of those guys. The reason he scored so many goals in the opposition penalty box is because he never stuck out, because he timed his run so well that nobody ever picked him up. Nobody ever saw him. You didn't know Frank Lampard was even in the box till the ball was nestling in the back of the net. And it's strange how different players get to a stage by different routes. Mm-hmm. But the bottom line is, regardless of how he got there, no question, at his peak, world class, and would have played in any team in the world.
Thanks, boys. Plenty more tributes to Frank Lampard right here on ESPNFC.com. Be sure to check them out.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube. And for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN+.